This is the exact moment in the attack when this attack occurs on the streets of the Santa Cruz Buena Vista colony when they were in their car. Both were surprised by these armed individuals who arrived in this gray vehicle. And look, there you can see how they arrived, and these people, well, they also ran away from the site. It was April 3rd, 2024, when Vielka and her boyfriend were exercising as every morning at the exclusive Beast Fitness Center located in the city of Puebla. This is in Mexico. After sweating to exhaustion, they both left the establishment towards their car parked right at the entrance without having the slightest idea that those would be their last moments of life. Some very dangerous people were waiting for them outside. The brutal murder of the Mexican influencer Vielka Pulido shocked the entire country, not only because of how popular and media-savvy she had been, but because of the atrocity with which she and her partner were killed. Many questions were swirling in people's minds, not just the investigators, but all of her followers. Who or what took Vielka Pulido's life and why? Vielka Pulido, originally from Chihuahua, was studying medicine at the popular Autonomous University of the state of Puebla. She was a creator of videos on TikTok where she flaunted her incredible beauty, her love for fashion, and her luxurious lifestyle. Although the young woman was primarily considered an influencer, she also had other occupations. According to her social media, where she constantly updated, Vielka was dedicated to modeling, but her largest income was her two businesses that could be considered as micro-enterprises. The first of them was the online sale of high-end Arab perfumes on Instagram. The page could be found as Perfumes Bendy Shop, alluding to her most recent nicknames. Most of her buyers were from Puebla, where she personally delivered at a previously agreed-upon location. In addition, they had routes throughout the Mexican Republic, expanding their company more and more. The second business she had undertaken as part of her personal projects was a site where beauty treatments were carried out in a way that she herself described as somewhat original. The business was also called Bendy Beauty and consisted of the application of products and treatments for hair care. Still, despite being 21 years old quite young, Vielka notably influenced on social media, even being popular before the massification of the TikTok platform, where most of the influencers reside today. Vielka Pulido was a familiar face to Mexicans. The influencer, who had more than 28,000 followers on Instagram, became known years ago for reasons that were far from her successful ventures. Her notoriety on social networks and her cherished dream life. Her rise to fame was not due to that, but occurred 6 years earlier, when she was still just a 15-year-old teenager. A controversy in which she was the protagonist, and which to this day everyone remembers as an outrageous and unforgivable event. The young woman had become famous all over the internet when in March 2018 she proudly posted a video on her Facebook account where she forced a schoolmate to apologize on her knees for speaking ill of her and her mother. I don't want to apologize. Well, I'll call my family right now. My family is not aware of this. Want me to call my mom and dad now so they can come and create a mess? Do you want that? I'll do it. Hand me my cell phone. Sorry, I stole. I'll pay for it. Sorry. Already? No. Okay, no, I tied you up. Now, yes, what? Sorry. This quickly went viral in Mexico and was the topic of conversation on all television channels. That's why Vielka Pulido earned the nickname of Lady Humiliator, a nickname imposed by social media users that lasted over time. And although Vielka tried to forget, many did not. The video generated a huge controversy and outrage in the Latin American country and became a media case and emblem of bullying in Mexican schools. And it is that at that time there were versions circulating that Pulido had threatened her classmates not to talk about the incident, and that to scare them, she had affirmed that she was the daughter of a drug dealer and that her father would take care of her if they spoke. This only made things worse, and a big fuss was made in the media that ended with the mothers of both young women having to come out publicly to give explanations and defend their respective daughters. I want to point out that the intention of this statement is not to attack the people who were involved in these events, but to make it clear that my daughter did not at any time assault the minor. On the other hand, Viridiana Pulido Juarez, mother of the aggressor, gave a press conference and assured that her daughter was suffering from bullying while promising that Vielka would change her attitude. In addition, she maintained that her family had no connection with organized crime. An apology to the minor and her parents, because I definitely completely disapprove of the action my daughter took. However, I also wanted to express that there were a series of factors prior to the event that triggered my daughter to react like this. I repeat, I do not justify the act. However, there was a history of bullying that she had with this girl and 5 other girls. So, well, she fell into provocations due to age issues, immaturity. She made a serious mistake. Years later, having finished school, changing her nickname to Bendy, and leaving behind her dark and abusive past, the influencer began to gain popularity by showing her luxurious life on social networks. But her controversy of 2018 was only the genesis of others that would accompany Pulido during her years as an influencer, which were suddenly interrupted by the sound of gunshots that extinguished her shine forever. On the day of the events, around 10 in the morning, Pulido and her partner left the sports center they frequently attended. They were about to board their white Bayerische Motorenwerke that was parked right at the club's entrance. What they didn't know was that in those scarce 2 meters, both would meet their end. They didn't both get into the car when a gray car approached them coming down the street the wrong way. This caught the couple's attention, who initially thought it was an armed robbery, perhaps to steal their high-end car, but it ended up being something much worse. These individuals didn't want their belongings but their lives. Suddenly, the suspicious vehicle began to move faster until it stopped near the couple. They didn't have time to react when, without a word, the shooting began. In an instant, the entrance to the gym turned into a shootout against both young people who could do little to defend themselves. Then, as if that wasn't enough, one of the attackers got out of the car and approached the influencer's boyfriend, who was trying to crawl away from the aggressor, agonizing on the ground. But his attempt to escape was in vain. Without mercy, the man shot him again to make sure he had accomplished his goal. Seeing that his victim was no longer moving, he changed direction towards the car where Vielka was injured and defenseless, and he shot her again, delivering the coup de grace. In an instant, violence erupted and ended with Vielka Pulido, injured in the passenger seat, and her partner surrounded by a sea of red in the street. The thugs, after committing their macabre crime, quickly disappeared down Zabaleta Road, plunging the case into a sea of uncertainty and pain and leaving 2 lives cut short on the pavement. When they disappeared from sight, the passers-by who had fled in terror at the moment of the shots came out of their hiding places and quickly called the authorities to assist both young people. One of the busiest and most important roads in the Puebla capital, and well, the execution occurred right on Zabaleta Road and San Judas Tadeo Street. Although the emergency services acted quickly and arrived swiftly at the scene, they could do nothing to remedy the consequences of the shooting. The shots had been accurate and worthy of professionals. Both youths were no longer alive. For their part, the investigators immediately cordoned off the scene to avoid curious eyes and began the search for clues and mainly the culprits of having done this atrocity, and at the same time, on the ground were scattered casings of 20 bullets of 9 and 0.236 inches, of which the victims received at least 10 according to eyewitnesses who gave their testimony at that moment. The aggressor shot directly, making it clear that they were after them, and this is very clear in a video that obviously I can't leave here. What the police were clear about was that there was no doubt about the premeditated and direct nature of the crime. Just an hour after this terrible event, Vielka's family and friends received the tragic news and arrived in luxury vehicles at the scene to learn more about the situation. Everyone was devastated. They couldn't believe that their beloved daughter and friend had been taken from their arms in such a brutal way. That's how things were this morning, precisely at the Valley of the Angels funeral home. I'll tell you that the wake or part of the activity started from yesterday. They received the body the day before yesterday, during the early hours of the night. The news quickly reached the media and internet. What initially was the loss of an anonymous couple quickly became known that the identity of the woman who had been killed was Vielka Pulido, which made it one of the main trends on Twitter and Google Trends searches. But her tragic loss did not prevent users from remembering the episode that made her famous, which dubbed her as Lady Humiliator and became a viral hashtag in trends. The networks were filled with comments that had little respect. Internet users belittled her loss and even celebrated and mocked her tragic end. Even so, there were those who gave their condolences and remembered her for her good deeds. The controversy over her loss did not end there. Sadness mixed with confusion when the last message the young woman shared before her tragic departure came to light. In a post, she spoke about alleged attacks that, according to her, she had faced throughout her career as a businesswoman, model, and influencer. In those statements, she mentioned feeling the protection of angels, a message that took on an even more disturbing character after her loss. And let me read it to you. "The angels take care of me, they throw at me and they miss," was what the influencer wrote, unleashing a flood of reactions on social media. Some internet users opted for mocking comments, ironically alluding to the way she lost her life, while others expressed their sorrow for Pulido's departure. But the question is, was that message directed at her killers? Well, the speculations made us wait. In the midst of this dark scenario, netizens came up with the hypothesis that Vielka was closely related to organized crime. This reminded them of when the influencer had threatened her schoolmate with calling her narco contacts if they kept bothering her, something her mother had categorically denied that her family had any relationship with any criminal group. But at that time, Vielka was only 15 years old and could have made it up just to intimidate. However, what if she finally did get involved in that dangerous world in her adulthood? After the crime, the Puebla Attorney General's office mobilized its forensic teams to collect the bodies and gather all possible evidence. The witnesses, on the other hand, explained that due to the number of shots, it seemed as if it were fireworks until one of them realized that the deafening noise was not rockets, but someone was being shot, which according to him sounded like a machine gun. Terrified then of receiving a stray bullet, the passers-by ran and hid behind other cars until the shots ceased. Still afraid of being injured, they slowly approached the scene where they found the young man lying on the ground with several wounds and the influencer already lifeless inside the car. They quickly ran to the next street where they stopped a patrol to ask for help, but as I tell you, it was already too late. By that time, the couple had lost their lives. Investigators began with this to trace the possible escape route of the attackers in order to find their whereabouts. The Secretary of the Interior of Puebla, Javier Aquino, did not rule out that the motive for the crime was a settling of scores, as everything indicates. Contrary to what many speculated, it seemed that the attack was not actually directed at Vielka but at her partner. The investigation revealed that the attack was directed at Joel Abram, 38, the partner of the content creator. But who is this individual, or who was he? Well, unlike the influencer, nobody knew him. Although it was not confirmed by official police sources, it was said that Joel Abraham was also originally from Chihuahua, like Vielka Pulido, and that his current residence was in Lomas de Angelopolis, a luxurious commercial and residential neighborhood. According to internet users, the influencer's partner was involved in freight transportation. Along with this business, he was allegedly linked to some illicit activities such as theft and auto parts trading. According to this theory, the attackers could have killed him as a settling of scores. Although this hypothesis could be true, it's also hard to believe that one of the attackers would have approached to finish off Vielka if she supposedly had no relation to the problem. This case has caused a great deal of consternation both in the local community and among the influencer's followers. The crime highlighted the persistent problem of violence in various regions of the country, which is increasingly on the rise, even though the president and those who want to be president say that everything is very good, very safe. In turn, investigators report that the vehicle in which the attackers were traveling had already been identified and that they were working on tracking the road they followed to hide. At the moment, they have not revealed more information. Although the authorities had eyewitnesses and even a video of the incident, they have still not been able to identify the attackers in any way. And in turn, the authorities pointed out that they will investigate all the people with whom Vielka Pulido and his boyfriend were linked, including their relatives, to find the motives for the attack. That beyond all the theories that abound on the internet, the motives for why their lives were taken are still unknown, and whether they were directed towards Vielka, her partner, or both, or if this was a settling of scores or drug-related, it is still not known. Similarly, so far and so soon after the incident, activities at the gym where the couple used to go are still normal, and there is no police surveillance in the area, as if people have already forgotten about the case. And also, in this magical Mexico, nothing ever happens. On the other hand, those who still can't forget this are the relatives and friends of Vielka. I think they'll never forget. Those who placed candles and flowers at the place where her life was taken to give a final farewell to the influencer while they wait for justice to be served. But if you like this type of videos and also, I don't know, about paranormal mystery, every Thursday you can watch the podcast Much More Mysteries, which I do with my colleague Edson. It's available on YouTube, Facebook, and all audio platforms. Thank you.